Hi everyone and welcome to La Hasmina on YouTube. This is a tutorial on how to do a seaming technique called the horizontal mattress stitch. This is usually used on shoulder seams, on garments, or in our case, the bound off edge or cast on edges. This seam is used in my pattern, the Becoming Cable Cow, and that's linked down below if you're interested in checking it out. This is our swatch. This is the top swatch. This is my cast on edge. This is my bind off edge here. I'm going to go ahead and look and see on my cast on edge. Like I said before, the cable cast on does some weird stuff at the very bottom. As you can see, there's these little bits that are crossed, which make it kind of hard to be able to do this accurately or easily. So the easiest way is to figure out where your raised slip stitches are and find out where your first two bars are. And it's these two right here. This is going to make it the easiest to figure out where you should begin on what row. And the pattern allows for extra stitches to make sure that those can hide and roll like this in the back of your work so you're not missing any length. So here's our first, so we're going to go over, figure out which stitches correspond with that, and they're these ones right here. So I'm going to go ahead and find my first half stitch, which is right there. And I'm going to go ahead and pull through that one. Leave myself a tail. And I'm going to go and find the corresponding full stitch on this side, which is right here. So we have our two legs. So it's this first half, right? Just like it's the corresponding half stitch on this side. But we're starting a half stitch over, that way we can pull it through on the next side. So here's this right here. So we're going from front to back. I'm finding my first stitch right here. I'm going to go over under both of those legs, and I'm going to pull through under both of those legs, just like that. I'm going to go back to my top piece of fabric, and I'm going to do this same thing that I did on my full stockinette swatch. I'm going to go through here under both these legs, and I'm going to pull through right there. Okay, pull those so you can see we have our beginning of our little V. I'm going to go here to the bottom. I'm going to go through this next V like this. And we're going to go back through the top, go through this next V where it's coming up. It looks like it's covered right there, but it's not. This is the area that you're going to put your needle through. Okay, so we have our first little bit of stockinette. And this is where it's going to get a little tricky, because as you can see right here, as this goes, it's 1/2 stitches when you do the mattress stitch. It can be a little tricky. So we have our 2 full stitches here. We have our 3rd full stitch here. But down here, it's not going to quite match. So what we're going to do is go through this first leg right here, just to complete that one, right? And to complete this one as well. But then we're going to go ahead and find our smiles and our frowns, just like we did before. And the smile and the frown that's corresponding, as it's right there, as you can see. This is the one that's connected with this piece of yarn right here. So it's coming out of the same hole. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to follow that one and see where it goes. And it's falling into this frown right here. So we're going to go into that frown, right? Just like so. Make sure you go under and always leave on top. You don't want to be pushing it down. If you do that, your seam is going to be raised on the wrong side. Okay, so here is the tricky bit, right? So since we're mimicking smiles on the bottom and going through the smiles, and we're going through the frowns, we want to find a frown on the top as well, on that same line, which the corresponding frown is right here. Okay, so I'm going to pull that one. So see, now it's hidden. It looked like there was going to be something there, but it's hidden now. If I pull it a little bit, you have these ones here that look like V's, and we have these ones that are just touching each other, which is what you want to do. You want to go and find your frown here, I'm going to go through that smile, and I'm going to find my area before. I'm going to have a smile here. I'm going to go through this so it's duplicated. I'm going to come back up through here, just through the same spot that I was at, just like this. And I'm going to go over into this very small one right here. So as you can see, this smile is actually feeding right into this stitch right here. So we're going to pull that one instead, right? And so as you can see, it looks almost invisible. So as you can see, all my V's are going this direction, like so, right? They're all going in an upward motion. If I do through on both of them, it's going to make a circle, and I don't want a circle, I want a V. So I went under only one of the legs on this first pass, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to go through those first two legs up here to mimic my V, like so. But then I'm going to pass that through again only under one leg, and that will make my V where I want it to be, right? So it looks like it's right there. It's not, it's actually right here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that one. And as you can see, we have our V now. So this is what we have so far. We have our stockinette side, which I'm going to pull that tight so you can see it a little better. We have our stockinette stitch right here. We transitioned over into our reverse stockinette. We have our first line of slip stitches, which are in slip stitch stockinette. And on the back, we have a very mild but visible seam. And that's going to continue to look like that going all the way down. So that's what the seam we have is right now. This is where we're at right now on the front. Okay, so now that we're here, we're going to do exactly what we did before in this transition, right? We're going to feed this in duplicate stitch, trying to figure out where this is coming from. So see, this one is feeding down through here, and we have this little bump right there. So that is the one I'm going to copy. I'm going to push through this one. Right there, we have our very pretty seam here. I'm going to figure out where this stitch is coming from here. Okay. So as you can see, there's this little bump right here. We're just going to go through that bump there, just like so. We're going to hide that by pulling it tight. And we're going to follow this stitch, and it's a big one. It goes all the way across here. So this is the stitch right here that we're going to mimic. I'm going to go through here, just like that. And we're going to feed into that same one here on the bottom. So we're going to go back in the same one we were before. This, same. Okay, and we're going to go into this one right here. So not this one. We're going to go into the leg underneath it, just right there. Copy that side, just like that. We're going to go back in through the bottom here. So now we are where we were before, where we had to kind of finagle this area right here to make it work for us, right? So this looks like that, almost invisible. Beginning, when you're transitioning from reverse stockinette to your stockinette, you want to be going through only one leg at a time, just like we did a half stitch on the beginning here. You're doing the half stitch again here, that way you're not making a circle and instead you're making a V. So So we're going to come up here and we're going to find our first set of stitches, which can be kind of hard to see again. It is right here. Go do like this. And we're going to go now, rather than doing one, we're going to go over both the legs, like so. And you have your first stitch that matches. We're going to go through this again, like so. And continue on, just like, even though we have this cable pattern happening here, because the cable pattern has been worked a significant number of stitches in, you actually don't have to really worry about matching it. You just have to make sure that when you stretch this part, you're going along the correct stitch in the right area. So even though this is folded over, for example, if you stretch it out, you can make it almost a flat fabric. And you're going to just follow that all the way straight through until you get to the reverse stockinette stitch, and we'll do that again in practice. But I'm going to go ahead and speed this section up so you can follow along and work on that together. Okay, so now we've reached the end of this. I have one half of a V left down here. I have completed my full V on the top piece of fabric, but I have my half little V down here that's left. So you can see here, it's almost inconspicuous. Besides the tension, for a cable pattern, it doesn't flatten as much, and once you have completed it, you can actually even move it a little bit and change the tension with those and fix them. But now that we're at our reverse stockinette section again, I thought we should probably practice, and I can show you once again how to do these slip stitch rows and the transition between the stockinette stitch and the reverse stockinette stitch. So I'm going to go back down through the half of my stockinette just like before. I'm going to try and figure out what little yarn you need to follow, and mine is right here. So it's like this little tiny smile. We're going to go through here. My smile. I'm going to go through the same area as before, but the same area is right. And sometimes it's hard for me to see, folks. Okay. Right there. I'm going to follow this one right here, this big one. Just like so. Pop back through the same place I was before. So even if you're not sure, this looks like a huge jumble, just figure out where your yarn came from before, and you're just going to stick it in that same hole. I'm going to follow this smile right here, the bottom. When I pull it taut, you shouldn't be able to barely see it. We're going to go through it in the same section here, same little area here. I'm going to go over right here to this one. So I'm not going to go through the bars. I'm going to find the little bar that's next to it, this little guy right here, and I'm going to go through that one, like we did with this one over here. All right, so now I'm almost ready. Right here, I finally down here in my little bar, and I'm going to follow that little bar into this half of this stitch, right? So I'm not going to go through the whole stitch, otherwise it's going to make me a big circle gap, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go through my half stitch here. I'm going to go through the whole stitch up here, so under both the legs, up on the top, just like that. Like so. So now that I'm under both these legs, I'm going to go back where I was before. I'm going to go in that same hole that I went through before, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go through that like that, so it makes a V. Okay. All right, so now that I'm out here, I have this little smile here that I'm going to go through. So I'm going to go through this one right here. And back up, just like before. Go. I'm running out of yarn. All right, so just like we did before with this transition, we have this yarn that we are trying to mimic right here. So we're going to go into this little stitch right on the side of it, right there. Go back through the same yarn, just like I did before, and I'm going to go through half of this stitch on my first bit of stockinette here. I'm going to go back up through the first set of stitches, just like so. Yarn. I'm going to go back through this first one. I'm going to go under two legs, the first two legs, pull, these two legs here, next to that one, Okay, so there we have it. We have, oh, it's a little bit funky there, but we have our swatch. Our two swatches sewn together, alternating between reverse stockinette and stockinette stitch. So we have, and then once you have this all kind of blocked and relaxed where you want it to be, you can kind of finagle these stitches tension-wise to make it sit how you want. So as you can see, we still have our raised up bit of our cable here, so it's not flattening everything out completely. We still are able to see really well continuously our slip stitch, raised slip stitches on either side in stockinette, and there's a smooth transition in between our reverse stockinette and our stockinette by going through the half stitch here, which is a mini version of my pattern, the Becoming Cable Cowl, which I'll link down below if you're interested in that. We have our seam on the back, so there's definitely a raised seam here that we can feel and we can see, but if we turn it around, it's not as noticeable as it would be if you had just done a straight seam. All right, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was really informative for you. If it was informative for you, or you like or want to see more videos like this, please click like and share. If you have any questions about this video, or you have questions about other things you'd like to see tutorials of, please write them down in the comments below and I'd be happy to answer your questions. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye!